Hi everyone, welcome to the Witching Week. Today is episode number 54. Got loads to talk about this week and we're going to be looking at Samhain themes and activities. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable and we'll get started. Hi witches, welcome back, thank you for watching. If you're new here, I'm Wren, I'm known as the Cemetery Witch because I live on a cemetery in the heart of England. So we've got a bit of a different setup today. I'm filming this on my mobile rather than my iPad, and my mobile is flipped round. I'm using the front camera because I'm trying to make the picture clearer for you guys. That means I'm using a mirror to be able to see what I'm actually doing in the screen. I'm going to show you a picture of my setup, and it's really thrown me because where I'm supposed to be looking at the camera, it means that I can't actually see the room and how it's displayed and myself. So I've done about 10 intros to this and just found it really difficult to get my brain in gear because I can't see what I'm doing. So I can see myself if I look beyond the camera, but then that's not helpful for you guys because I look like I'm drifting off into outer space. So that's how my day is going so far, but I'm determined to improve the quality of the picture. I think it's ever so slightly blurry otherwise, I'm not sure because we've got really slow internet here, so it could just be me anyway, but we're giving this new setup a trial. So how are you all doing? First things first, I am drinking Superfruit Immune with vitamin C by Tetley today. I've got that in one of my favourite mugs for Fox Sake, which is my anti-fox hunting mug, and I am on my favourite incense today. I think that whenever I'm feeling kind of like really under par and below the weather, I tend to gravitate towards my favourite incense. It just makes you feel better, doesn't it? So happy ween, as my friend would say. We have entered October, we have entered ween. So many of you are so excited about Samhain and Halloween, and I've noticed, like I was saying earlier on, back at the end of July I think they got the Samhain stuff out, the Halloween stuff out should I say, and yeah, it seems like everyone's much more festive this year. I think the shops are kind of like cottoning on to the fact that people are enjoying Halloween, and I can just see it growing year on year on year at this rate. So looking forward to that, how excited. Yeah, there's been a lot of people still arguing about the whole Marbon thing. I've heard so many arguments for and against the use of the term Marbon. All I'm going to add to this debate, because I'm not in the habit of arguing with people, especially not random strangers on the internet. All I will say is remember that we're on the same side. We're all pagans, and it's okay to have differing views and differing viewpoints and to healthily debate things. I don't think we really need to get to the point where we are abusing each other. We're on the same side and life's too short for that. But it would be nice to have an understanding. There seem to be some people who were just like, no, I'm not changing that use of the word, without an understanding of how some people feel about that. And I feel those people are entitled to their opinions. So I just want to say, let's move forwards. We are moving towards Samhain now. Let's embrace that energy. I'm very happy to say that there is no one in the communities that I've built that are arguing in this way. You guys are lovely and you all get on really well and you're all super polite, so thank you for that. There are a lot of pagans who just seem to feel that, you know, this is just another thing or another place to argue. You know, they'll argue wherever they are, and I really think that pagans should unite. So thank you to you all for being such a lovely group of sensible, pragmatic, respectful, kind people. You're all fantastic, so thank you. What have you guys been up to? I would love to hear. We have been having glorious weather here in the UK, well, in my part of the UK anyway. Obviously, we've got like seasonally unusual weather. It's very warm at the moment, and obviously that's not good really. It's not a good sign. However, for us personally, you know, it's been a bit of a blessing really, to be honest, because we can't afford to put our heating on yet. So there's, you know, obviously pros and cons to this, but the weather has been beautiful. So I hope you've you've been well, you've been making the most of the weather. I really hope that you've had a good week. Friday comes around so quickly, doesn't it? So we had a supermoon in Aries, didn't we, in the week that's just gone, last week, and I think that might be the last supermoon of the year, correct me if I'm wrong, and it was absolutely beautiful. As you imagine, it was big, it was bright. I took a photo, but photos never ever do the moon justice, do they? And I like that. I like the fact that unless you've got some super amazing skill and equipment, I like the fact that generally our phones and our cameras, that we can't kind of capture its mystery. I like that. For me, it's kind of elusive, it's kind of magical and mystical and a bit mysterious. And I think that if we could take amazing pictures of the moon every single day, I don't know, maybe we would get bored of it. I don't know, but I kind of like the fact that it has that kind of quality to it, like you chase it but you can't quite get it. So what's been going on this week? Lots of big things. We had Michael Gambon, Irish actor who played Dumbledore in Harry Potter, as well as many other roles in theatre and TV and film. He passed over, and we had the whole business of the Sycamore Gap Tree. So if you're not from the UK or you're not familiar with this part of the world, up in Northumberland where we have Hadrian's Wall, there's a beautiful sort of a hill that went down into a dip and up into another hill, and there was a sycamore tree. Aether pseudoplatanus, I think is the tree. My husband's a tree surgeon. I'm not very good at the aces. I get really confused. There's several and they're just the ones that I just can't pin down. But anyway, this beautiful sycamore tree, and it was felled overnight, and a 16-year-old boy was arrested, and he was brought in and was speaking to the police about their inquiries, and then it sort of deepened, and then there was a 60-year-old chap that was arrested and then bailed, and it's all got a bit quiet now, and it's just something doesn't feel quite right about this story to me. For me, I feel like perhaps this was done on purpose, perhaps by the powers that be, in a bid to distract us from all sorts of laws that are being passed at the moment and all sorts of things that are going on, things that really our attention should be on. And I saw this lovely little image with a little bit of verse about, you know, the one guy that felled this tree. And, you know, I don't want to dissuade anyone from the idea that this was an absolutely awful thing to do. It was. However, we don't seem to get upset at all about the many elite few that that's a bit of an oxymoron, I think, isn't it? The many elite few. Anyway, the others that destroy whole rainforests and whole swathes of trees. I guess because this one was really iconic, it was in films, it was over 300 years old, and most people knew it, or, you know, lots of people visited it. I have always wanted to go to Hadrian's Wall, and in particular I wanted to see this particular tree, not because it's been in any films, but because it's an iconic tree. I think it was a tree of the year at some point, like the one at Waverley Abbey that I showed you, I believe, in a Witching Week episode, I think possibly at the beginning of the year. Anyway, national treasure, this tree. And yeah, I think no one really bought the story initially that a 16-year-old boy hiked for miles and managed to do a proper professional felling. When you saw the pictures, first off, my initial thought was, and again, I suppose it's because my husband is an arborist / gardener, and I just thought that is a proper job. How does and my husband said a 16-year-old can't do that on his own or her own. So yeah, very sad. I think the whole country was in mourning, but there will be epicormic growth that will spring from that tree, and eventually it will, grow new shoots and it will flourish and it will come back. But that's going to take some time. But yeah, very sad, and makes you wonder what the world is coming to. But I do think there is a bit more to it than has been letting on, because it's all just gone very quiet, and we seem to have a lot of news stories like that. We seem to have a lot of stories that capture everyone's attention and imagination and are a really big thing in the media, and then they'll just, like, as quickly as they pop up, they just seem to disappear without any real follow-up. So, and you would think if a story's that big that, you know, it's being shown everywhere and it's being shown, you think you would see like the second half of it, but no, these things just disappear. We are living in strange times, aren't we? There's a lot going on, I think. So this week, what have we been doing? Here we have been watching Afterlife, written and produced by Ricky Gervais. I've seen it before. I saw it years ago when it came out. I have introduced my husband to this. Sometimes, you know, I'll suggest things and he doesn't really sort of feel like that's something he would watch. He's a little bit stubborn like that, dare I say. But all my recommendations always turn out to be good. And I watched this film some years ago, or series, should I say, and it's about a man who is struggling with the death of his wife, and he becomes very, very bitter and angry, and he takes his grief out on the world. Very, very sad. Very, very funny. A lot of swearing. That is typical of Ricky Gervais. He's kind of like that. But very, very well written, and also some very, very profound moments. It's one of those very cleverly written programs that has you crying 1 minute, literally crying 1 minute, and then laughing the next. Very cleverly put together. Second time watching it for me, although I hadn't seen the third series. And I've got such a terrible memory anyway that I couldn't remember most of it. I could remember the general premise, and I could remember a couple of key things that happened. I must have watched it, I don't know when it came out, maybe 4 years ago or something, and I'd basically completely forgotten all the moments and, you know, just everything in it. So for me, it was like watching it from scratch again. Very, very funny. My husband absolutely loved it. We could see some similarities to some situations in our own life. We could really sort of connect with that, and just an absolutely beautiful ending. So if you want something really, really touching, really heartwarming, uplifting, it is about death though, and it is quite a depressing program at times, but it carries some really, really important messages. Probably one of my favourite programmes of all time, I have to say. Even talking about it, I find myself getting a little bit moved. You can hear it in my voice. It's just such a beautiful programme, and it makes you think. It makes you think about your loved ones. It makes you think about the people that are close to you. It makes you think about life. It makes you think about the things that you should be cherishing, and it does make you think about the pain that is encountered when you lose a partner. But it's also about the many, many joyous things, you know, about having a partner. So absolutely recommend Afterlife to you guys if you haven't seen it already, which I'm sure probably most of you have. So talking of hubbies, thank you to Mine for putting up my beautiful Lunar Moth crystal lamp shelf by Copper Moon. Thank you so much, Copper Moon, for sending this to me. It looks absolutely beautiful in our bedroom. We've now got some extra twinkly light in our room. We're so happy with it. Thank you so much. I've got a code for you guys to use. If you want to order anything from Copper Moon, you can get 10% off with the code TCW10. That's TCW10. So that is as in the cemetery witch, TCW10. I love Copper Moon. For every order, they plant a tree. They think very carefully about where they source their wood and their materials from. And they are a female-built business. The lady whose business it is, she started this. She was suffering with chronic illness, I believe, and she started her own company. It was just her initially. Then she got her fiance on board, and now there is 12 of them working for Copper Moon. So fantastic company. In the UK, they have a workshop in a rural location, and they've really put their heart and soul into all they create, and they just make such lovely things for the home, the office, the workspace, the therapy room, you name it. So thank you so much, Copper Moon, and let me know if you order anything from them. I'd love to see photographs of what you've bought and where you've put them, and yeah, I love copper moon, so thank you. What else do I need to tell you? I feel like I'm talking at 100 miles per hour. This new camera setup has really thrown me today. It's really, really strange because I'm just looking at a black box, and yeah, I can see the camera beyond, but yeah, it's really weird. I'm not looking at myself, so I can't see if I'm in frame, if I'm not, but I'll just keep talking and we'll hope for the best. And if this doesn't work out, then I'll just refilm this. So, casting a circle, I've just filmed part 5. I'm going to be putting that up for you guys. That will come later. There's a queue of things. I tend to do a couple of videos together if I can on a good day, and then there's like a little queue, so they'll go to the back of the queue. But part 5 of casting a circle is coming up. If you're new to this channel and you're new to the Witching Week and you've not made your way around my page yet, I have done a series of videos explaining exactly how to cast a circle. I know many people are unsure of how to do it, and they feel like something is missing a little bit magically because they're doing it their way. They think they've learned, but they're not entirely sure. So I've provided a framework. Obviously you can play with this, you can add stuff in, you can create your own words, you can add in extra elements, but this is the basic foundation for casting a circle. If you have the things that I've put in place, you will have a properly cast circle. So go and check that out if you haven't already. So Samhain is coming up. How exciting. I know you guys are all very, very excited. If you've got any spooky stories, please send them to me. Email me at the_cemetery_witch@yahoo.com, or drop me a line on Instagram or on Facebook. I don't tend to use Facebook as much, so Instagram would be better. Facebook have got this silly thing where it times how long it takes you to respond, and just naturally, because I go to bed early, it can take me quite a while to respond. I've got a shorter day than most, and it just really frustrates me that it times it. So if it takes me a while to get back to you, it puts that on my page, which is just, I think, is irrelevant information really. So if you can, and you're on Instagram, send it to me there, or send it to me via email. But we read out some spooky stories before on the Witching Week, and it was lots of fun. So if you've got any weird, wonderful, it doesn't have to be ghosts, it could be extraterrestrials, it could be absolutely anything, message me. I would love to hear, and I'm sure everyone watching the Witching Week would love it as well. If I get enough, we will have last time I did a whole episode, didn't I, with spooky stories. Even if we just get a couple, I will just do a normal session and include them. But if we get loads, then I'll do a dedicated the Witching Week for them. I might do 2. I'll do like a regular one and then maybe a stories. We'll see, or just a really long one. So what sort of energy are we looking at the moment as we move towards Samhain? So it's considered by many that the veil is thinner at this time. I mean, the veil, I think, is always thin, but specifically at this time, it's considered to be very thin. It's easier to reach across and contact our loved ones in the spirit world, and it's easier for them to make contact with us. The line between the world of matter and the world of spirit, that boundary has gotten much, much easier to cross. It's regarded as a very, very special magical time because of this. Another time that is similar in its energy. A lot of people argue and dispute this, and I've seen some sort of famous old school witches refer to this and others that haven't, but some suggest that Beltane is a similar time, and I certainly feel that. I feel like there is a lot of magic in the air at Beltane. I think that there is a lot of access to other entities and beings, and vice versa. I do know other witches that disagree with that and insist that Samhain is the only time. For me, it's all about balance, isn't it? And we look at the Wheel of the Year and we look at that as balanced, really. And Beltane is opposite Samhain, and I feel like that fits. But you might have a different opinion on that, and that's absolutely fine. It's considered a liminal space just because of the nature of this, the veil being thinner and we being in that position where we can be between the world of matter and the world of spirit, or we can reach across easily, so they can reach across to us. So it's a traditional time as a result for honouring our ancestors, communicating with them, working with them, but mainly commemorating and remembering them, setting some time out to think about them, to remember them, to think about the aspects of their personality that we loved, that we hated, that we found funny. It's a great time for telling stories, for cooking family recipes, and just really connecting in with our loved ones that have passed over, and perhaps our ancestors that we didn't know so well. And this could be all sorts of ancestors as well. When we talk about ancestors, they don't have to be familial. They don't have to be people we were related to, but also sometimes we don't have a connection with the people that we are or were related to. Sometimes we might have physical, biological family, but perhaps we in our lifetime we don't connect with them, we don't have a relationship with them, and then the same goes for when they've passed over. So we have other ancestors, we have other spirits that look out for us. Ancestors could be creative ancestors, they could be an old music teacher that you once knew that did a lot for you that's passed over, or it could be a creative ancestor that really inspired you in your life and got you onto a particular journey. So it might be that Kurt Cobain is one of your creative ancestors, or David Bowie, or just any musician or artist or writer, anyone that inspires you. When we talk of ancestors, it doesn't have to be familial. It could be a magical or spiritual ancestor. So for me, I consider one of my ancestors to be the chap that brought Reiki to the West. So it could be any number of things. You might consider Doreen Valiente a magical or spiritual or religious ancestor of yours. It really does depend. So this is a perfect time as well for inner work. Just naturally, we become inner. We become inside in the autumn and winter. We're less outer. We're not outside. We're not sharing our energy and our love and our time so much with other people. We become more reflective. We might go to bed early. We might wake up later because it's dark and it's cold outside. We just tend to retreat inside. And so naturally, we tend to retreat inside ourselves. So this is a great time for meditation, divination, reflection, contemplation, astral travel, learning the tarot, brushing up on those skills and things you want to remember, reading, all that inner work, all that inner stuff that perhaps we don't have time for in the summer. We concentrate on our inner lives rather than our outer lives, and that is just a natural thing. And I believe that we would have done this for hundreds and thousands of years. So it's a great time to work on the shadow side of our personalities as well. It's a great time to reflect and look inward and think about some of the things perhaps that we could change about ourselves, or even just things that we could accept about ourselves. I'm a great believer in accepting yourself as a whole in order to love yourself. That doesn't mean that you don't try and change the things that perhaps could be better, or change the things that you would like to be different about yourself. But we're all human, we all have flaws, we all have things as a result of our childhoods, the way we're brought up, or perhaps are just our own natural personalities that perhaps we could work on. But it's really important to embrace ourselves as a whole. There's balance, there's light and dark, and when we do that, we free up energy. All the time we're denying stuff and we're having a battle, we don't free up that energy for working on ourselves. So to accept and to love is to actually change things for the better. And there's parts of myself that I'm working on that I still haven't mastered, that will probably take me years, that I feel I need to change and need to be different. But I do accept that that is an integral part of me, and that's going to take some time and some work and some effort, and just the playing out of situations over and over and over again until I master and until I get things right. So in the meantime, I might as well love myself, because when you love yourself, you can love other people. You've got the energy, you've got the headspace, you've got the time, you've got the confidence. So a great time to do shadow work, journaling, any kind of reflection, maybe start a video blog, just absolutely anything. So I wrote down a few activities that you guys could do that are just simple and easy and don't take an awful lot of energy. So many people getting worked up about, you know, being in other parts of the country and not being able to get to Glastonbury or Avebury. There are other magical places in the UK. We've got the Rollright Stones. There are lots of stone circles in Northern Ireland. There's lots in Scotland, and you don't have to, you know, you can just be at home. For me, Samhain, I like to be in my home at a certain time. So, you know, we might try and go for a walk in the morning. If we've got the children, then we'll do fun things with them. But I like to be in before the sun sets, and I like to have all my little rites and rituals, and I repeat these every single year. And that's what makes them really special, because they have become tradition. It's not all about being at places that are known for being witchy or spooky, or because there's lots of people there. For me, it's all about nature. And, you know, if you want to celebrate Samhain by going for a walk outside and observing what you see, then that is a celebration in itself. Make the everyday, make the mundane magical. It's what you make of it. It truly, truly is. So, on my list of things that you could do to celebrate Samhain, get outside for a walk if you can. Obviously, not everybody is the same. You know, for some people, they're not able to do that. They might have mobility issues. You know, when I make these suggestions, obviously you need to adapt them for your own circumstances. Sitting in front of an open window and getting some fresh air and looking out and noticing the change of the seasons is just as good if you can't get outside. So when I make these suggestions, please don't come at me and say, well, not everyone can go for a walk. I know that. Use your common sense, use your own circumstance and your own situation, and adapt. It's getting colder and darker now, or at least it will be when Samhain rolls around. So it makes sense to get out and enjoy stuff while you can. Again, that is situation dependent. For me, I don't particularly enjoy going out in the autumn and winter now, because we don't come back to a warm home, because we can't afford to have a warm home. It means I don't like getting wet and I don't like getting cold, because I get cold very, very easily due to very low blood pressure. And so coming inside is not like, you know, it's not like getting cold outside and then coming back to a warm home. So again, when I say it's colder and darker, get outside, have a walk, that just might simply not be possible for you. Carve some pumpkins. Brilliant activity to do with the kids. Again, it might not be something you can do. This is just a list of suggestions. Take and pick what you like, what you don't like, and it's just to get the brain juices flowing. So you would probably be able to think of a million other, and I mean literally a million other ideas or activities, or perhaps things that suit you better. Apple bobbing, always fun at this time of year. Obviously, traditionally a fun Halloween thing, but you know, there's no set rules. If you want to do this with your kids on the 20th of October to have fun, then do it. Dumb supper, again, does not have to be on the 31st. As lovely as it would be to do it on the 31st, you can do it a day before, a day after. The point is honouring and marking your ancestors. And if you can't do that on the 31st because, you know, you have a life and life gets in the way and you have things that you need to do, you might be a nurse that works at a hospital, for example, I don't think your ancestors are going to be upset that you chose to honour them on a different day because you chose to honour them. Go on a cemetery walk, that's always interesting and really life affirming. See what you can see, look at the different gravestones, look at people's ages, look at when they were born, how long they lived, look at the vast array of names. Have a bonfire with family and friends, lovely way to be outside but to be warm. And obviously Samhain is one of the 4-5 festivals. Reflect on your growth this year, look back, and also obviously look forwards. You know, what do you want to achieve in the next year? Where do you want to be come next Samhain? You know, what do you want your life to look like? Are there things that you want to change? Are there things that you would do differently? Recreate some family recipes, that's always a lovely one. And another one that I mentioned before, which is share family stories. So lots of ideas there, lots of ideas that don't involve a huge amount of travel, a huge amount of money. They don't involve going to anywhere in particular, and they're very valid ways to celebrate and honour Samhain. So we're going to do some cards now. As you might have guessed by my slightly sort of warbled speech today, my brain's not quite working. I've left my tarot cards over in the living room, so I'm going to go and get those and then I'll be back. So we've got 4 cards that I've chosen. They were the cards that jumped out at me. Obviously this reading might not resonate with you. It's not necessarily going to resonate with everyone. We're just looking at the potential for the energy the week ahead, so you can look at ways you can respond and react to situations like this that might come up. So if it resonates with you, take it. If it doesn't, forget it. We'll have another reading next week. So I've got the 9 of Wands, nearly said Pentacles, the 6 of Swords, the 6 of Wands, and the Wheel of Fortune. So these cards talk of a situation where you are absolutely exhausted. Something or someone has left you feeling battered and bruised, and you have basically reached a point of near exhaustion. You know, you're ready to give up. But number 9 is nearly number 10. So we're talking completion here. I'm going to tell you, you haven't come this far just to come this far. Don't give up. You might be feeling battered and bruised and exhausted and completely done in, but you're actually still strong. You're actually still going. The point is, you have got this far. You have made it this far and you're still upright. So keep going. And the situation will evolve. You will move away from this situation onto something better. So I don't know if this is going to be in relation to perhaps a career or a job that's making you feel this way. Perhaps you're moving out of a difficult domestic situation, maybe leaving a relationship. And whether you choose this moving on or whether this is forced upon you, it is going to be the right thing for you. You're moving away from stormy waters onto much calmer waters. And whilst it might really hurt and it might really feel that, you know, it might leave you questioning, is this the right thing? Is this the right thing? Even though you look back and you can see how painful and difficult things were, the answer is yes. It is for your higher good, your higher self ultimately, and things will be better. And you will reach a point again where you have confidence and there are things to celebrate and there is victory, and you can start feeling much more like your old self. And the message, you know, very much comes from the Wheel of Fortune, that what goes up must come down and back round again. So if things are really, really awful for you and you have been left feeling this way, you have been left feeling battered, bruised, absolutely frustrated, done in, just exhausted, just almost like you don't have anything left in the engine whatsoever, the news is that things are going to swing back round. They are. So as seen by the previous cards and the message I've just given you. So the message is have hope, have hope. Things will change, things will rectify, things will swing back in the opposite direction. They always do. So be strong, be resolute, be prepared for some upheaval, but everything will be okay. So obviously when I do these readings, they can relate to things on a micro scale, a small scale, or they can relate to situations that are going to play on for a while. Even though we have a reading each week, you know, there can be more than one situation going on in our life. We can have lots of stories playing out at the same time. And obviously, like I said at the beginning, you know, this isn't going to resonate with everyone. These readings can even just be information and guidance and wisdom imparted that aren't necessary for the week ahead, but further down the line, when, you know, a situation perhaps comes up like this, you can refer back. So I'm going to leave it there, finding it hard to get my words from my brain out of my mouth adequately. So I'm wishing you all a fantastic week ahead. I hope it's absolutely glorious and it brings you everything you wish and desire. Look after yourselves and each other, and we'll be back next week for another episode of The Witching Week. Thank you for watching. Lots of love and blessings. Bye.